So, if I had to pay for a less risky vaccine, I suppose I wouldn't give much, because it doesn't give a much more protection than the previous one would. So I guess like 10% of my income.
Okay, so you would give 10% of your income. That's already more reasonable. Why such a little amount?
I suppose because the percentage is quite low, and it would make sense to pay more.
Okay, and what about your children? If your children's lives?
If I had 2 children, I guess something more would be at stake. So I suppose I would be willing to pay a little bit more.
A little bit more in what?
For example, 25% of my income, but not more than that, because 15 to 10,000, 5 to 10,000 is not much different.
Okay, and how much would you pay for the most unriskiest vaccine that wouldn't have any chances of you being paralyzed or your children?
I wouldn't pay more than it is already, because 5 to 10,000, I suppose, is a low enough. It's like a no-existent risk, I suppose.
Great, just great.
So if I have a stock portfolio of $10,000, that's a lot of money, and I have a lot of options to ensure no loss, and all of them are very expensive. I suppose I wouldn't be willing to pay more than more than 500 a year, which would be like 5% of the total portfolio, and still I would never lose more than 10%, which will make that 1,000. But the other choices are expensive too, so I suppose it wouldn't make much difference if I would pay more to save
Ready to 6.5% a year is $650. So you earn $650, and you're ready to pay $500 a year.
Well, it is unreasonable at some point, but...
And against what are you buying the insurance actually?
Against 7% of risk, losing 50 to 60% of my total portfolio.
So you would pay like 90% of your year income to insure yourself for 7%?
Well, I guess that's not the most reasonable choice, but the total income is not that big either.
Well, it depends, but okay, if you have $1 million, let's already go to the second question. You have $1 million, and it's everything the same. You have 6.5% year returns. It's 65,000, right? 650,000 year returns, and you can pay the same. No, it's 65,000. So, and you can pay 25,000, 50,000, 65,000, 80,000 for the same percentage rate of your insurance.
Well, the proportions would be the same, so
yeah,
if I wouldn't count the possibilities, I would still say the same, because the proportions are the same. Of course, it's not the most reasonable choice.
You would still give away
I suppose, yes.
50,000 out of 65,000 of your income.
Yes, I suppose so.
For 7% risk.
Yes, it is a risk.
It's 80-90% of your income for 7%. Don't you think it's like a bit unreasonable?
I said already that it is.
Okay, and do you consider the crash big?
Well, if you mean the amount of cash I lose, then yes, it is big. 60% is a lot.
Okay, and what if the crash would only be 30-40%?
Then I wouldn't consider such.
What would you consider then?
Well, I guess the first one, 250 a year, or maybe even less.
So you are not looking at the percent. You are looking at the percent of the crash.
Yes, I'm afraid of the loss. loss. More than of that.
And the last question was how much more than $800, I think, or $80,000 a year would you pay for an option to ensure that your portfolio never loses value?
I wouldn't pay more than that. It's a lot already, and if $800 offers me 1%, why would I pay more to have no loss? 1% is close to nothing.